Hello boys and girls, today we are going to draw some gems and crystals. So you have your packet, you have the video I made if you want to watch that to help you figure out how to draw crystals. You are going to pick one or a bunch of them to draw. So here are some options, some different ones, step by step broken down. Some simpler ones, and last but not least, some really complicated ones, which you can do because it's broken down by steps and they look really cool. So you're going to pick what you want to draw. I am going to draw, I think, one of the ones on this page, and I'm going to do it on my sketch, and then I'm moving it onto my final copy and outlining and erasing with pencil. Just remember when you are drawing to draw lightly so that line that you maybe make a mistake on is easier to erase. You are limited to 4 colors when you are painting this. I'm only going to use 3 because I want to mix my red and my violet together to make a red-violet, which is a tertiary color. So I'm going to just use some blue, some purple, and some red. Notice I just have a paintbrush. I don't have any water because we don't need water really. If you would like water though, you can use it, but I'm going to go without water. And I'm going to paint this in from dark to light using values. So I am going to outline the edges that I'm painting first. So I'm using blue first. If you want to make it darker, go over it more than once. That creates a darker shade of blue. Also think about the brush size that you're using. Should you be using a really small brush to fill in some space like this? Should you be using a really big brush? Or does a medium-sized one work better? That's up to you to figure out. So now I outlined it. I'm going to paint this in. Be careful that you don't drip. You might want to take your paintbrush and wipe it, because if you drip it on your paper, you are not getting a new one. And I'm going to paint this in. I think I'm going to leave it lighter in some areas and darker in some areas, just so it looks like the light is hitting it in different ways and it's showing the tone. So you're going to paint it section by section. I am going to go over here and I think, drip. That's why I said you should wipe. Go over here and I'm going to outline it again. I think I'm going to let this side dry a little, and then I'm going to come back and do another layer of paint over that. Right now I'm going to move on to this here, and I'm going to do some blending. So I'm going to take my blue, outline some of it, but not all of it, because this is where I'm going to blend. If you want to mix and make another color, take your paintbrush, dip it in that color, get the paint from it, put it in another tray, and then mix them together that way. Make sure you make enough of it that you do not have to make it again, because it's really hard to match that color to exactly what you made before. Now if you notice while I'm painting down here, this color is running into the edge of my crystal, and I don't really want that to happen, and the only way you can avoid that from happening is to wait for it to dry, because the watercolors that we're working with like to go into other colors that are still wet. So if it's still wet, it's going to flow into that color. Another way I could avoid that is if I would take a paper towel and I would sop up some of this water. Let me show you a trick. I'm just going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to get some of the paint off of it by painting on my scrap paper. And I'm now going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to roll it over in the area where there's too much water on my paper. And if you notice, it's being absorbed into my paintbrush, so that there isn't as much water on my paper. That might work better for you than using a paper towel. Once you are done painting this, put it on the drying rack, fill out a reflection sheet, and have fun, boys and girls.